messed up. My husband divorced me on the spot after finding used rubber in the bin. Dear Reddit, I am a man in my 35th year. She is 32 years old, my wife. She is such a stunning and attractive woman. Everyone is enthralled with her effortless grace. Her flawless sense of style and exquisite taste in clothing are complemented by her inner beauty. Now that we have been married for 3 years, I still consider myself extremely fortunate to have her in my life. Her ease and assurance in every circumstance speak for itself, and her elegance beyond her outward look. She manages to leave a lasting impression on everyone she meets, and I am always in awe of that. We were high school sweethearts, and everyone who knew us thought we were meant to be together forever. We had a lovely house, 2 beautiful children ages 10 and 12, a wonderful dog, and a seemingly perfect life. But as time went on, cracks began to appear in our seemingly perfect facade. The constant demands of work and parenting took a toll on our relationship, and we started drifting apart. Despite our best efforts, we couldn't ignore the growing distance between us. But deep down, I always believed that there was love and mutual respect between us, after all the ups and downs we had been through. As the parental demands kept on increasing, we were less and less available for each other. My wife started having long and unreasonable work hours, often coming home late at night or not coming home at all. This put a strain on our relationship as we hardly had any quality time together and made it difficult to communicate on a deeper level. Most often than not, I was left with taking care of my boys' needs by me, and it no longer felt like a team effort. I had to juggle their school schedules, extracurricular activities, and everyday tasks all on my own. The burden of responsibility weighed heavily on me, and I yearned for the support and shared responsibilities that a team effort brings. Never in my wildest dream had I imagined that my beautiful wife would do something unfathomable. I did not see it coming at all. It is hard to believe that a mundane act of taking the garbage out could lead to such a life-changing decision, but it did. One evening, as I walked towards the garbage cans, a wave of introspection washed over me. It was as if the routine task had triggered a deep reflection on my true desires and happiness. Despite the external picture-perfect life we had, I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was something missing, something unfulfilled within me. As I was tossing in the last bag, I noticed something strange. There was a wrapper that had caught my eye. It was something I had never seen before. At that moment, my heart sank, and I knew that my suspicions were right. The wrapper had an unfamiliar logo and a peculiar design. Its vibrant colors and intricate patterns seemed out of place among the usual packaging. As I examined it closer, a sense of unease washed over me, as if this discovery held a deeper meaning that I was yet to uncover. It was a used condom which did not belong to me. This is not something that I used, and also it had been too long since I had sex with my wife. My wife was cheating on me. I could feel it in my gut. The weight of the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I returned to the house in a daze, my mind racing. How could she do this to me? I loved her more than anything in the world, and this was how she repaid me? It was unfathomable. Despite my initial shock, I tried to convince myself that I was overreacting. Maybe there was a logical explanation for the protective wrapper in the bin. Maybe she had a medical issue that I didn't know about. But deep down, I knew the truth. The evidence was too overwhelming to ignore. The texts on her phone, the late nights at work, and now this mysterious wrapper. It all pointed to one thing: betrayal. My heart sank as I realized that our relationship would never be the same again. I tried to put it out of my head and go about our daily life as normal. I went to work, I played with my children, and I acted as though everything was fine. But the more I thought about it, the more convinced I became that she was unfaithful. I started looking for signs, and they were all around me. The way she acted, the way she dressed, the way she talked, all of it seemed to point towards her being unfaithful. I could no longer ignore my intuition. I decided to confront her about my suspicions, hoping for an honest conversation that would put my mind at ease. However, deep down, I knew that regardless of the outcome, our relationship would never be the same again. So I confronted her. I told her what I had seen in the bin and asked her to explain it to me. At first, she was defensive, insisting that there was a logical explanation. But as I pressed her, her story started to unravel. She admitted that she had been having an affair for almost a year with the new employee at work. My world shattered around me as she confessed the painful truth. The trust I had placed in her was shattered, leaving me feeling betrayed and heartbroken. Everything I thought I knew about our relationship suddenly felt like a lie. I always had doubts about the new guy in her office, how she always mentioned that he was young and handsome. I couldn't help but wonder if her constant mention of his youth and attractiveness meant there was something more than just professional admiration. It made me question her intentions and whether she was developing a personal interest in him. She always denied stating that he was just a colleague. However, many people suspected that there was more to their relationship than she let on. Some even claimed to have seen them together outside of work hours, fueling the speculation further. During our confrontation, she told me that I was the only guy she had ever been with. She never knew any other way of being loved apart from the way I did. This new guy tried to take interest in her, which she ignored initially. As days went by, she could not help but start feeling attracted towards him. She liked the way he looked at her and the way he complimented her. One day, when their hands brushed, it sent a shiver down her spine. She found herself eagerly anticipating their interactions, cherishing every moment they spent together. The subtle physical connection they shared only deepened her growing infatuation, leaving her yearning for more intimate moments with him. She did not feel this way ever in her life, and without a thought wanted to experience this feeling more and more. She yearned to delve deeper into this newfound emotion, craving its intoxicating presence in every aspect of her existence. The allure of this sensation was irresistible, urging her to seek out new experiences that would intensify and prolong this euphoria. She said that he made love to her in a way that she had never experienced before. It was an intimate encounter that left her feeling both exhilarated and deeply connected to him. The passion and tenderness he brought to their lovemaking awakened a new level of pleasure within her, making her crave more of his touch and presence. Listening to her talk about it was making me both sick and furious. How could she so shamelessly describe her lust in such a tasteful manner? It was appalling to witness her lack of remorse as she indulged in graphic details, disregarding any sense of decency. Her audacity to glorify her immoral desires only intensified my feelings of disgust and anger. I realized that I could never trust her again. I loved her, but I couldn't forgive her for what she had done to me. I couldn't live with the constant suspicion and doubt that would always be there. Despite my love for her, I made the difficult decision to end our relationship. It was a painful choice, but I knew it was necessary, even though it seemed like an impossible task at the time. Ending our relationship was the only way I could regain my peace of mind and protect my own emotional well-being. It took immense strength to walk away from someone I still loved, but I knew that staying would only prolong my suffering and prevent me from moving forward in life. I asked her to move out of my house at that instant. I did not even want to look at her face. She told me that she got carried away and would not want to ruin our relationship. I forced her out of our room into the hallway and asked her to leave. She said that she cannot live without the kids, but it was too late for that. If she cared so much about them, she would not have taken such decisions. I sternly reminded her that her actions had consequences, and that she should have thought about the kids before making such a reckless choice. As I closed the door behind her, I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and sadness, realizing that our relationship had reached an irreparable point. The next day, I filed for divorce. It was a painful and arduous process, but I knew that it was the only way forward. I hired a lawyer who made sure that she neither gets any alimony nor the custody of my kids due to her cheating behavior. My lawyer suggested that I appeal in court that a woman who did not think about the well-being of her kids and hid her affair for almost a year did not deserve the custody of kids. He also asked me to present any evidence that I had collected of her infidelity and emphasize how her actions had negatively impacted our children's emotional well-being. I wanted her to realize that she made a huge mistake by taking things for granted. How much ever she tried, I would try with all my means to keep her away from my house and also my kids. The next day, I called all of our mutual friends and let them know that I had left my wife as she was cheating and would expect them to stay by my side. I also drove to her office during lunchtime to go meet her. I then announced in front of all her colleagues that we separated, and she can now officially date this guy. I also questioned their boss about the company policy of office romance, and what are the rules that apply to people who have affairs. I learned that after a week, both my wife and her boyfriend were fired from their respective jobs due to the policies against office romance. The news of their termination caused quite a stir in the office, with rumors and gossip spreading like wildfire. However, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction knowing that the consequences of their actions had caught up with them. It was a harsh lesson for both my wife and her boyfriend, serving as a reminder that actions have consequences, not only in personal but also in professional settings. It was sad to see the life we had built together falling apart, but I knew that it was for the best. Looking back, I realized that finding that protective wrapper in the bin was a blessing in disguise. It exposed the truth about my wife's infidelity and allowed me to finally confront the painful reality of our crumbling relationship. The discovery of her betrayal shattered my trust, but it also gave me the strength to start rebuilding my life and finding happiness again. It was a painful experience, but it taught me a lot about myself and what I'm willing to accept in a relationship. I learned the importance of trust and communication, and now I prioritize these qualities in any future relationships. Now I'm in a much better place. I'm single, but I'm not alone. I have a great support system in my friends and family. I'm much happier than I was in my marriage. I try to spend as much time as I can with my kids. Since the end of my marriage, I have found a newfound sense of happiness and contentment. It has allowed me to prioritize spending quality time with my children, cherishing every moment we have together. I have come to realize that sometimes the end of one chapter is just the beginning of another, and this new chapter in my life is just beginning. In conclusion, if I were to give any advice to someone going through a similar situation, it would be this: trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Don't ignore the signs. It's important to listen to your gut feelings and acknowledge any red flags that may arise. Trusting your instincts can help you make informed decisions and protect yourself from potential harm or disappointment. Remember, your intuition is a powerful tool that shouldn't be underestimated. Last but most importantly, don't settle for less than you deserve. Life is too short to be unhappy. We all deserve to be loved and respected. Comments. 1. U/Reddit user 1. This is what happens when a man is busy with providing for the family. The woman decides that she is not getting enough love and tries to seek love outside of marriage. She does not even think of the hard work this man has put to bring food to the table and for all the comfort she was enjoying. She starts feeling neglected and unappreciated. She may begin to question the stability of their relationship and wonder if she is still valued by her partner. This can lead her to seek emotional fulfillment elsewhere, as she longs for the affection and attention she feels is lacking in her marriage. She tries to find a new man who can act at her whims and wishes. Once she finds such a man, she leaves her old relationship for this new ignited love. 2. U/Reddit user 2. I think you did the right thing by teaching her a lesson. Well deserved. People who take advantage of your trust should be taught a lesson. It's important to set boundaries and ensure that others understand the consequences of their actions. By teaching her a lesson, you are not only protecting yourself, but also sending a message that trust should never be taken for granted. It's crucial to maintain healthy relationships built on mutual respect and honesty. I wonder if she will find another igniting man and then move on to him after she is done with this one. 3. U/Reddit user 3. I believe that love makes you lose your senses and do things that are out of your normal character. It has the power to cloud your judgment and make you act impulsively, sometimes without considering the consequences. Love can be both exhilarating and overwhelming, pushing you to take risks and step outside of your comfort zone. Since she was only with one person her entire life, she was unaware of what true love is. She longed to experience the exhilaration and depth of emotions that come with being in a passionate and fulfilling relationship. The absence of varied experiences left her yearning for a connection that would ignite her soul and show her the true essence of love. Update. The next few months were the most difficult of my life. I was a single father, trying to pick up the pieces of my shattered existence, while also trying to be there for my children. It was a tough balancing act, but I made it work. I was also finding out ways of how I could punish my wife for the betrayal that she had induced in my life. I had made sure that my wife was staying away from my kids. I did not let her talk to them or meet them. My kids were mature enough to understand what was going on and fully cooperated with my decision. They did not want to talk to her as well. They were as upset with her as I was. They could not believe that their mother could do something like this. Her new boyfriend that she had been cheating on has deserted her when she told him that she won't be getting any alimony, but would like to appeal for custody of the kids. He was expecting her to get a hefty alimony with which he could start his own business. He blamed her for not being careful and getting caught by me. This is what karma looks like. He believed that she deserved to suffer the consequences of her actions and felt betrayed by her lack of financial support. As I watched their relationship crumble, it became clear that her deceitful behavior had finally caught up with her, serving as a lesson in the workings of karma. In the end, she is the one left with no one by her side. This is all due to her actions, and she's paying the price for it. She neither has a loving husband nor kids that she can lean on. Loneliness has become her constant companion, as she struggles to find solace in the absence of a support system. Her choices and behavior have isolated her, leaving her yearning for the warmth and comfort of a family that could have been hers.
The sun was already starting to set as I stood by the huge window of my office, overlooking the bustling city below. Today had been a whirlwind. 25 years I'd been with this company, pouring every ounce of my dedication and sweat into my work. And today, it was going to pay off. I glanced down at the invitation lying on my desk. It was a sleek card embossed with golden letters. John Miller, in recognition of 25 years of exemplary service, we are honored to present you with the Employee of the Quarter Century Award. Quarter century. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? A chuckle escaped my lips. I never thought I'd be at a job long enough to get such an award. My fingers lightly traced the edge of the card. I hadn't told Lisa yet. I wanted to surprise her. I imagined the proud look in her eyes, the way she'd hug me tight, whispering in my ear, "I always knew you were the best." We'd been through thick and thin, from the time when we could barely afford rent to now, living comfortably in our dream home. This award was as much hers as it was mine. A buzz from my phone pulled me out of my daydream. It was a reminder for the rehearsal for tomorrow's ceremony. "Can't be late for that," I murmured to myself, quickly gathering my things. The office was mostly empty by now. A few colleagues waved at me as I made my way out, congratulating me for my big day tomorrow. I smiled, nodding in appreciation. It felt good, this recognition. It felt earned. The drive home was smooth. Traffic was lighter than usual, and I found myself humming along to the radio. My plan was simple. Get home, tell Lisa about the award, maybe even go out for a celebratory dinner. I'd been so wrapped up in work lately that we hadn't had much time together, just the two of us. As I turned into our street, something odd caught my attention. A car. Not just any car, but one that I recognized. Sleek, silver, with tinted windows. Mr. Gray's car. My boss's car. Why would he be here? I pondered aloud. It wasn't like him to make house calls, and I definitely hadn't invited him over. Parking my car, I decided to check our home security system via my phone. An uneasy feeling settled in my stomach when I saw that the cameras were off. Odd, I thought. Lisa never turns them off. Before entering the house, a memory flashed. I recalled an old video system I'd set up when we first moved in. It was more for fun than anything else, a hobby I picked up during one of my business trips. I decided to check it before going in. With every second, my heart pounded louder in my chest. Why was I so nervous? What was I expecting to find? I sat in my car, nervously fidgeting with the old laptop I'd kept in the trunk. Booting it up, I opened the video files from the old security system. My hands were clammy, my mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. The first few clips seemed normal. Lisa was in the garden, tending to her roses, her favorite pastime. It was calming to see her so engrossed in her world. But then the timestamp showed the hour when I was deep in a meeting. Mr. Gray's car pulled into our driveway. He stepped out, looking around before heading to the front door. Lisa greeted him, not with the cordial nod you'd give a colleague of your husband, but with a warm embrace. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. They moved into the living room. Their conversation was muted, but their body language spoke volumes. They laughed. They shared a bottle of wine. The same wine Lisa and I had been saving for a special occasion. At one point, they danced, her head resting on his shoulder, both lost in the music and in each other. It felt as though someone had punched me in the gut. This wasn't just a casual visit. This was intimate, personal. I closed the laptop abruptly, gasping for air. My mind refused to accept what my eyes had just seen. I drove aimlessly for what felt like hours, trying to process everything. Every memory, every sweet moment shared with Lisa was now tainted with doubt. Was our entire marriage a lie, or had something changed along the way? Seeking some solitude, I ended up at a small park we used to visit when we were younger. It was our spot, a place where we shared dreams, made plans, and promised to be each other's forever. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sitting on a bench, I tried to recall any signs, any hints that might have indicated Lisa's change of heart. But all I remembered were the good times. Sure, we had our disagreements, but what couple didn't? Nothing that would warrant this kind of betrayal. My phone buzzed with a message from Lisa. "Hey love, where are you? I made your favorite for dinner. Hope you'll be home soon." I stared at the message, feeling a strange mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. How could she act so normal? Did she think I wouldn't find out? Or did she not care? Tears threatened to spill, but I held them back. I needed to think, to plan my next move. I couldn't confront her without evidence, and I certainly didn't want to make a scene. I needed answers, but first, I needed to gather my thoughts. The sun was barely out, casting a dim golden hue over the city as I started my day. I hadn't slept much. Every time I closed my eyes, the images of Lisa and Mr. Gray replayed in my mind. It was torture. As I got into my car and drove to the office, I could feel a deep sense of unease. Every red light, every pedestrian seemed like an obstacle, delaying me from finding some answers to the chaos that had become my life. I had always taken pride in my office, a corner spot with a panoramic view of the city. But today, the skyline, usually a source of inspiration, felt mocking. Instead of focusing on work, I found myself watching the people down below, wondering how many of them carried secrets of their own. When lunchtime rolled around, I knew I couldn't face the office canteen. I texted Roger, "Need to talk. Usual spot in 20?" His reply was instant, "Be there." Our usual spot was a small, out-of-the-way cafe where we'd shared countless conversations over the years. It was private, away from prying eyes and eavesdropping ears. As I sat waiting for Roger, the aroma of fresh coffee beans being ground felt oddly comforting. When Roger arrived, his face was lined with concern. "You look like hell," he said, ordering us both a coffee. Taking a deep breath, I relayed the events of the previous evening. He listened intently, only interrupting to ask clarifying questions. Once I finished, he took a long sip of his coffee, seemingly collecting his thoughts. "Before you confront Lisa," he finally said, "you need undeniable evidence, something she can't refute." I nodded, recalling the grainy security footage. "But how?" He hesitated for a moment. "A private investigator. It's the best shot we've got." The idea seemed drastic, straight out of a detective novel, but I was desperate. Roger quickly jotted down a number. "Her name's Clara. She's discreet and the best in the business. Call her." With Roger's encouragement, I dialed Clara that evening. She had a calm, collected voice that instantly put me at ease. After explaining my situation, she agreed to take on the case. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions. Clara was in constant touch, updating me on her findings. She tracked Lisa's movements, her meetings with Mr. Gray, and even their conversations. Each revelation was like a dagger to my heart. However, one evening, as I was poring over some reports, my phone buzzed with a message from Clara. "Urgent meeting needed. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. My office." The weight in my chest grew heavier. What had she found? I arrived at Clara's office promptly at 9 a.m. The air was thick with anticipation. Her office was located in a nondescript building, ensuring her client's utmost privacy. The room itself was dimly lit, with walls adorned with various awards and certifications. However, one particular wall caught my attention. It was covered in photos and strings connecting various clues, like a scene from a detective film. Clara, a tall woman with sharp features and an even sharper mind, gestured for me to sit. Without wasting any time, she turned on a projector. The screen lit up with images of Lisa and Mr. Gray, some of them in places I recognized, like our favorite restaurant and the park where we had our first date. She began narrating her findings. "Over the past few days, I've observed a pattern. They meet up at least 3 times a week. It's not just casual encounters, John. I've recorded some of their conversations." She played an audio clip. Hearing Lisa's voice was painful, but what was more painful were the words she spoke, her intimate tone with Mr. Gray, and the laughter they shared. They discussed future plans, vacations, and even mused about a world where they didn't have to hide. I felt a rush of emotions: anger, sadness, disbelief. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. From what I've gathered, it's been at least a year, Clara responded. A year. A whole year of deception. I struggled to process it all. Did you find anything on what they're planning next? Clara hesitated for a moment before continuing. There's an upcoming business trip. Both Lisa and Mr. Gray are booked for it, but the peculiar thing is, they've booked a single room. It felt like the room was closing in on me. Clara handed me a folder containing all the evidence, photos, recordings, and even some of their message exchanges. You deserve to know the truth, John. I'm sorry it had to be this way. I nodded, barely holding back tears. Thank you, Clara. As I left her office, the reality of it all sank in. I had to confront Lisa, but the thought of facing her was daunting. How do you confront someone you've loved and trusted for over 2 decades? I drove around the city, lost in thought. Nightfall approached, and the city lights seemed to blur together. I pulled over, gazing at the river. The shimmering water reflected my own tumultuous emotions. Taking a deep breath, I picked up my phone and dialed Lisa's number. It was time for answers. The ringing of the phone seemed to last an eternity. When Lisa finally picked up, her voice was light, unsuspecting. Hey John, how was your day? Hearing her voice brought a flood of memories, our wedding, vacations, shared laughter, and dreams for the future. But now, it all seemed tainted. I took a deep breath to steady myself. Lisa, we need to talk. Can you come home now? There was a pause. She must have sensed the urgency in my voice. All right, I'm on my way. The waiting was torturous. Every tick of the clock felt like an echo in the vast emptiness of our home. The door creaked open, and Lisa walked in, concern evident on her face. John, what's going on? I spread out the evidence Clara had given me on the table. The photos, the audio recordings, the messages. Lisa's face turned pale as she took in the undeniable truth before her. Tears welled up in her eyes as she began. John, But I raised my hand to stop her. Just tell me why, Lisa. After all these years, why? She looked down, struggling to find her words. It started innocently. Business meetings turned into lunches and then dinners. We found comfort in each other's company. I never meant for it to go this far, John. But over time, the line between friendship and something more blurred. I am so sorry. I could feel my heart shattering, but a strange calmness settled over me. We built a life together, Lisa. Shared dreams, made promises, and you threw it all away for a fleeting moment of happiness. She sobbed. I know I messed up. I know there's no excuse for what I did. I wish I could turn back time. But some things, once broken, can't be fixed. The trust that was the foundation of our relationship had crumbled. Lisa, I think we need to take some time apart. I need to process this, heal, and decide what's next. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand, John. I'll move out for a while. The following days were a blur. Lisa moved in with her sister, and I was left in our home, surrounded by memories of better times. Friends and family reached out, offering their support, but the loneliness was overwhelming. I decided to sell our home and start afresh. With every item I packed, I let go of a piece of the past. It was painful but necessary. I realized that sometimes the hardest part of moving on is accepting that the other person already did. The finality of signing the divorce papers was heart-wrenching, but it also marked a new beginning. I embarked on a journey of self-discovery, traveling and meeting new people. And though the pain of betrayal never truly goes away, in time, it becomes a scar. A reminder of battles fought and lessons learned. After everything that's unfolded, I find myself standing at a fork in the road. The weight of the decision I need to make feels like a stone in my chest. You see, some say love is forgiving, and that time can mend the deepest of wounds. Others argue that certain betrayals are unforgivable, leaving scars that never truly heal. My heart still aches when I think of Jane. The love, memories, and years we shared can't simply be erased. I sometimes wonder if we can rebuild, start anew, and perhaps find a way back to each other. But then, the pain of her betrayal, the hurt I felt that day when I watched that footage, hits me like a tidal wave. You, dear viewer, have been with me through this tumultuous journey, witnessing every raw emotion and every twist and turn. And so, I ask you, what do you think? Should I consider giving Jane a second chance, believing in the power of love and forgiveness? Or do you think what she did was utterly unacceptable, a violation that no amount of time or remorse can mend? I eagerly await your thoughts. Your insight might just be the beacon of light I need in this storm.